Not long ago, about the closing of an evening in autumn, I sat at a large bow window of the coffee house in London. For some months I had been ill in health, but was now convalescent and with returning strength found myself in one of those happy moods which are so precisely in converse of ennui, moods of the keenest aptancy. At first my observations took an abstract and generalizing turn. I looked at the passengers in masses, and thought of them in their aggregate relations. Soon, however, I descended to details, and regarded with minute interest innumerable varieties of figure, dress, air, gait, visage, and expression of countenance. Descending in the scale of what is termed gentility, I found darker and deeper themes for speculation. I saw Jew peddlers with hawk eyes flashing from countenances whose every other feature wore only an expression of abject humility. Sturdy professional street beggars scowling upon mendicants of a better stamp, whom despair alone had driven forth into the night for charity, feeble and ghastly individuals upon whom death had placed a sure hand, and who sidled and tottered through the mob, looking everyone beseechingly in the face as if in search of some chance consolation, some lost hope. The gamblers, of whom I descried not a few, were still more easily recognizable. They wore every variety of dress, from that of the desperate thimble-rig bully with velvet waistcoat, fancy neckerchief, gilt chains, and filigree buttons, to that of the scrupulously inordinate clergyman, by which nothing could be less liable to suspicion. Still, all were distinguished by a certain sodden swarthiness of complexion, a filmy dimness of eye, and pallor and compression of the lip. Eupatrids and the commonplaces of society, men of leisure and men actively engaged in affairs of their own, conducting business upon their own responsibility, they did not greatly excite my attention. By far the greater number of those who went by had a satisfied businesslike demeanor, and seemed to be thinking only of making their way through the press. Their brows were knit, and their eyes rolled quickly. When pushed against by fellow wayfarers, they evinced no symptom of impatience, but adjusted their clothes and hurried on. The division of the upper clerks of staunch firms, or of the steady old fellows, it was not possible to mistake. These were known by their coats and pantaloons of black or brown, made to sit comfortably, with white carvets and waistcoats, broad solid-looking shoes, and thick hose or gaiters. They had all slightly bald heads, from which the right ear, long used to pen-holding, had an odd habit of standing off on end. I observed that they always removed or settled their hats with both hands, and wore watches with short gold chains of a substantial and ancient pattern. Theirs was the affection of respectability, if indeed there be an affection so honorable. With my brow to the glass, I was thus occupied in scrutinizing the mob, when suddenly there came into view a countenance, that of a decrepit old man some 65 or 70 years of age. I had now a good opportunity of examining his person. He was short in stature, very thin, and apparently very feeble. His clothes generally were filthy and ragged, but as he came now and then with the strong glare of a lamp, I perceived that his linen, although dirty, was of beautiful texture, and my vision deceived me, or through a rent in a closely buttoned and evidently second-hand roquelaire which enveloped him, I caught a glimpse of both a diamond and of a dagger. These observations heightened my curiosity, and I resolved to follow the stranger wheresoever he should go. For half an hour the old man held his way with difficulty along the great thoroughfare, and I here walked close at his elbow through fear of losing sight of him. Never once turning his head to look back, he did not observe me. By and by he passed into a cross street, which, although densely filled with people, was not quite so much thronged as the main one he had quitted. Here a change in his demeanor became evident. He walked more slowly and with less object than before, more hesitatingly. He crossed and recrossed the way repeatedly without apparent aim, and the press was still so thick that at every such moment I was obliged to follow him closely. In this exercise he spent another hour, at the end of which we met with far less interruption from passengers than at first. The rain fell fast, the air grew cool, and the people were retiring to their homes. With a gesture of impatience the wanderer passed into a by-street comparatively deserted. Down this, some quarter of a mile long, he rushed with an activity I could not have dreamed of seeing in one so aged, and which put me to such a trouble in pursuit. "This old man," I said at length, "is the type and the genius of deep crime. He refuses to be alone. He is the man of the crowd. It will be in vain to follow, for I shall learn no more of him nor of his deeds."